and experienced many things also. So yes, I think actually working with Taiwan people is a great pleasure. It's nice. People are actually very polite. Sometimes a little bit too polite, perhaps. But I like that.
You.
No, but I like that because you see, I always say you can be straightforward. You can be very much to the point, but you can still be polite. Sometimes you have the feeling that some managers they have to just shout around and be very tough in order to be considered to be.
You're not like that, right?
I'm not trying to be like this. And I tell you also one of the things that I like philosophy a little bit, and I read about Jean-Jacques Rousseau, the French or Swiss French thinker, philosopher. He said that the greatest of all wisdoms is friendliness. So he didn't say that you can have 10 PhDs, you can have 12 master degrees, you can have whatever you want to have, but if you don't know how to say thank you and please and could you and be polite, what do you really have? Because that's the basic education that actually your parents should tell you. And that's another thing I like about Taiwan, because in Europe now we have this new expression called sandwich generation. What does that mean? It means that because of economic needs, families are now again living together and working together and staying in the same house together. And in some ways this is actually very good because you have maybe sometimes 3 generations in one house. But in Taiwan this is very common and normal. And I love this. Because it shows the importance of family, and it basically makes you respectful to the older generations, and you also you interact with each other in a very nice and usually respectful way. And I hope that Taiwan will always stay like this, because I love that part of course, because it is the most important institution everywhere in the world is the family, and if the family is strong, you can also build a very strong state. And so I think this kind of institution or this type of setup should be kept in that way, forever. And I see this so much in the Taiwan culture, embedded in the culture. And I love this, and I hope it will never change. Because I'm not a big fan of like the, kind of Western thinking that when you're 18 years old, you have to move out, you have to live somewhere else. And now because of, sadly, the bad economy, people are moving back in, which is a good thing. But I think in Taiwan, it's always been embedded.
So how old were you when you left your home country? Well,
actually, I was a fairly young man when I started first studying in the UK, and went to the UK. But I always went back somehow. And I'm still in touch, of course, with many places in the world, and with my family, which is spread out all around the world.
I think you must value very much this Taiwanese, family kind of 3 generations living together, because
I love it.
You're away from home. So obviously you value this a lot.
See, home, I mean, this is I don't want to misquote if it was Seneca or if it was Cicero, but basically home is where your heart is. And it's not necessarily, home, I feel like my heart is in various places in this world, and one, of course, is here in Taiwan, but also in Switzerland. But I do feel that I feel very close here to Taiwan, and also the people here in Taiwan. And I love the food. I mean, this is one thing most foreigners will tell you about the food, and the food is fantastic.
What's your favorite? That's typically Taiwanese.
I'm going to tell you now something that is very typical Taiwanese, and it's going to shock the media, because the media has propagated against this so much.
Shock me.
Yes. One is chow tofu.
I knew you were going to say that.
Well, I'm sorry.
Stinky
then I didn't.
Tofu.
Stinky tofu, yes. And and this is actually something that may be surprising, because it is something that that a lot of foreigners. I think the media has kind of made a little bit of propaganda by saying that foreigners don't like it. I even like the blood rice.
Oh, okay, the pig's blood cake, right?
The tiambula, every time you have the tiambula, and then you have inside of it, you have the rice with the blood. Yes, the pig's blood, and it's kind of a very kind of blackish type of looking rice. I forgot the name in Chinese now.
猪血糕.
猪血糕, that one. And basically, I liked it a lot too.
Well, good for you. Good for you.
And the 1,000-year-old or 100-year-old egg that they're talking about, that also foreigners don't like.
Right.
I like too.
You like all the ones that people don't. That
yes, interesting, right? Like. And also I cannot demonstrate it right now, but since we're in this type of conversation, that I can make a little bit of a joke about myself too. I'm extremely good when it comes to kweitze or chopsticks.
Oh, really?
And chopsticks. I don't know how this happened. The first time I came to Taiwan, I picked up chopsticks, and I was already better than 90% of the population in Taiwan.
Right. You can pick up peanuts, right? And peas.
Peanuts is not a problem. I mean, basically, it's more of when you see a fly flying around, I could catch it and throw it back.
Really? Okay.
Well, almost that good. But
yeah. Well, I heard that there is one thing that you thought maybe Taiwan can do better is you really love history. And Taiwan, if it could work harder at preserving its history. In what sense do you mean by that? Because I think I remember reading your interview somewhere.
Yeah, there was a few years ago when I...
Yeah. But can you explain? Because I think you do make some sense there.
But, you know, interesting, since I said it, I see also that there has been a lot more done in that field.
Maybe because of what you said.
I don't think I have that much influence, but thank you very much that I'm part of this influencing people who influence that type of decision.
Right.
But yes, I think already quite a bit has been done on this. But what I think history is generally an important aspect because one can learn so much from it. And, you know, not just from, I mean, there's so much that one can learn out of this. And I think it's very important to keep that understanding alive. Because past mistakes don't have to be repeated. But sometimes one has the feeling, and you know, I don't want to elaborate too much on this, but perhaps you can understand what I mean. But sometimes I have the feeling that people just don't look at history at all because they think it's not important. But I think it is. And that's why I'm also very impressed by the whole aspect of having different generations living in one household. Because you can learn from the elder generations. I used to love talking to my grandparents because I was, of course, interested in history, but it was so interesting to see what the world was like, you know, in their lifetime.
Yeah.
And that's at least, something one can engage in, and so easily actually in Taiwan, especially if the families live very close together.
Right. Well, a point well said. Well, Nick, it's been so much fun talking to you and hearing your stories, and you're definitely very versed in what you do, and you love your job, and you love the people here.
Absolutely, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for this time.
Well, thank you, Shirley, and thank you also to RTI for having me here. So it's been fantastic, so thank you.
Great. Thank you so much for watching, people. I'm Shirley Lin.